My talk is going to be in English, and I hope you can understand me. I hope you can speak English, or at least can understand English. And if not, there's not much I can do about this at this point. So, I don't know. So, the title of my talk is Anxiety Doesn't Matter. And within the next minutes, my aim is to convince you that indeed anxiety does not really matter and is not really the problem here. And if we allow ourselves to feel more into our anxiety, feel more into our nervousness, and allow ourselves to be more insecure, we could actually stop worrying about anxiety and start doing the things that we actually care about. And the way we will accomplish this is we will use our hands, so this will be a little bit interactive here. And also we're going to use a pink elephant. And so I will get to the pink elephant in a moment, but before I do, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. Because I have coached people all around the world, and I've been teaching people about anxiety and about overcoming anxiety for many years now. And after all these years, the truth is that I myself still get scared. Like even right now, there's something that scares me. And so as long as I can remember, anxiety has really been something that I struggled with, that I fought with. As long as I can remember, I felt that deep down somewhere here, like somewhere, there's something wrong with me, something is missing, something that really prevents me from succeeding in life and doing the things that I actually want to be accomplishing in my life. And so I avoided anything and any activity where this anxiety might show up, where this insecurity might show up. And so I didn't do lots of sports, because the few times I did try a couple of sports, I failed, and it means being confronted with my shortcomings yet again. And I didn't talk to strangers or people that I didn't really know that much, because I felt that if they got to know me, they would realize that something's wrong with me, something's missing here. Some level not good enough, and they wouldn't like me. And so I carried this with me for most of my life, and when I got to college, I decided this is the time that things are going to change. This is the time that new chance, new me, I'm gonna get over this anxiety thing. And so this one day I got invited to a party, and immediately I had mixed feelings, because on the one hand it meant I got invited to a party, which was pretty cool. Well, on the other hand, it also meant having to talk to strangers, having to talk to people that I don't really know, and immediately I got nervous. And so when I arrived at the party with a few friends that I had, the few friends that I had immediately mingled with the crowd and began talking to other people, and I stood there by the wall, like clinging to my beer and clinging to the one friend who hadn't yet left my side. And eventually the one friend that hadn't yet left my side began talking to other people as well, and I excused myself and I went to the toilet. I was so nervous, I was so insecure, I couldn't talk to anyone. And so I locked myself in the toilet and began beating myself up. Now, why am I always doing this? Why can't I be normal like other people? And so I began to cry. So I'm not telling you this story because I want you to feel pity for me, or because I feel that this story is in any way super original or unique. I actually think this story is the story of many people, story of millions of people who struggle with their anxiety, the story of people who feel like in some way they are not good enough. They don't have what it takes to really do the things they actually care about. And it might be your story, and maybe you have different experiences with anxiety, but I'm sure you all know this feeling of having this weird feeling in your stomach, of having like shaky hands, weak knees, like also maybe having these self-doubts at something. Might be wrong here. After I was locked in the toilet for nearly 30 minutes, I eventually got out. I didn't want my friends to see me, so I secretly snuck out and probably would tell them later that I couldn't find them or anything. It was the best party ever. And I got home. And the morning after, it really got me thinking, because I really could see the trajectory that my life would take if I continued down this path of letting my anxiety rule my life. And this path that my life was going on was not a really good life. It was a life filled with regret, a life filled with missed opportunities, and a life of isolation. And I didn't want that. So I made a decision there that I want things to change. I don't want to have this anxiety any longer, and I was prepared to do anything it takes to overcome this anxiety, overcome this insecurity. And so I began to read every book that I could about psychology, about fear, about insecurity. And I finished my degree in psychology, and I began working with coaches, with therapists, with psychologists, went to seminars, workshops, and did basically anything I could and confronted my fears over many years, hundreds and maybe even thousands of times. And after all these years of me working on this issue, I still get scared. Like right now, I'm scared. And there's a very simple reason why this is, why this fear is still there. And the very simple reason is the pink elephant. So in the beginning I said this will be a little bit of interactive, so there's a part where I want all of you to participate. And I'm going to do a little experiment with you. And for this experiment, I want you, like in your mind's eye, really picture this pink elephant. Yeah, picture this huge, gigantic elephant, but instead of it being gray, it's super pink, right? And in a moment, I will ask you to raise your hands really, really high, and I will count down from 10. And during these 10 seconds, you are not allowed, under no circumstance whatsoever, to think about a pink elephant. Some of you are laughing because you probably already know where this is going. So you're not allowed to think about a pink elephant, not even slightly the shape of an elephant or the color or anything that might in any way resemble a pink elephant. So I want to ask all of you to put your hands up high, really, really high. And I will count down from 10. And the moment you think about a pink elephant, I want you to drop your hand. All right? Are you ready? Go. 10. Okay. All right. So some of you are actually secretly Zen masters. Very cool. So you see, what was happening here is that our brain really can't do this. In a way, it's a very hard, nearly impossible task. Because when you try to not think about something, your brain will immediately check in with you whether you are actually now currently succeeding in this and not thinking about the thing that you're not supposed to think about. And so you think about it. And this is a fun little experiment, but it's actually true with any other thought. Like the more we try to not have a certain thought, the more we will have this thought. And there are studies that have shown that this is even true for emotions. The more we try to not have a certain emotion, the more we will actually have this emotion. So maybe you notice this in instances when you think of a joke or you hear a joke and you really shouldn't laugh, you really try to not laugh, and it makes the joke even funnier. Right? So the more we try to get away from our thoughts and our emotions, the more of a focus it actually becomes. And the same is true with anxiety. The the more we try to get away from anxiety, the more we try to get away from this painful, this fearful, this insecurity, the more of a focus it actually becomes. The more power it gets over us. So when we try to get away from anxiety, in a way we demonize our anxiety. In a way, we say to ourselves that this experience that I'm having right now, this nervousness, this anxiety, this fear, is unacceptable. And so as a result, whenever fear shows up, whenever you notice the slightest hint of nervousness in your body, you will get even more nervous. You will get nervous about your anxiety. And then you will get insecure about your nervousness, about your anxiety. And it goes on and on and on. So no longer have you just anxiety, you have anxiety on top of anxiety, pain on top of pain. And the other bigger problem here is really that when you try to avoid anxiety, you begin avoiding all the activities, all the people, all the situations where anxiety or insecurity might show up. And so you restrict your life. You limit the places where you're allowed to go. You limit the people you are allowed to talk to. You limit the topics you're allowed to talk to. You don't go to networking events, you don't go to parties, you don't ask out that someone that you actually want to ask out. You don't ask your boss about a promotion. And you miss out on many of the things in life that are actually very important to you, that you actually want to be doing in your life. I want to stress this point one more time because I think it's very, very important yet so easy to miss. When you try to get away from anxiety, get rid of this uncomfortable stuff, you're making your own experience of anxiety unacceptable, create anxiety on top of anxiety, make your anxiety experience even stronger. And on top of that, you also restrict your life. You miss out on the things that you actually truly care about. The things where some anxiety shows up. So it seems like a tough spot here, because either you have anxiety, which is not very cool, nobody likes that, or you try to get away from anxiety and thereby create even more anxiety. If not in the moment, guaranteed in the future. And you miss out on many of the things that you actually care about. There's an actually solution to this. Like there's an alternative. Instead of just telling you, I will show you. And there's another experiment. And for this experiment, I would like you to get a prop, like get some kind of object, like maybe a pen or paper or coffee mug or your phone. You can pull out your phone, whatever, get your prop. And if you don't have any, just pretend you have something. Yeah. And when you have it, I want you to grab it with both hands. Grab it with both hands. Yeah? Alright. So, for this exercise, I want you to imagine that this object that you're holding in your hand right now, like this is all the uncomfortable stuff. Yeah, this is all the anxiety, the insecurity, all the stuff you don't want, that you want to get away from. And at the same time, I want you to imagine that I, and what is happening here on the stage, is everything you want. Like I am all you want. I am your goals, I am your dreams, I am your values, I am the things that you care about, I'm the people that you care about, the things that make life beautiful and meaningful to you. So I want you to hold your cup or hold your object, whatever you have. And right now I want you to push it away as much as possible. Push it away. Really, really try as hard. Push it away. Because you don't want this stuff. You want to get away from this uncomfortable stuff. Really, really, really push hard. I see some of you not really trying hard enough. Push harder. Yeah. And when you do, I want you to notice something. First of all, I want you to notice how tiring this is. Is anybody of you getting tired already? Like, I know I am. Right. And the other thing I want you to notice is how distracting is this. So you can probably still see me, but how much of your time, how much of your energy is this costing really? Your hands aren't really free. It's involving a lot of effort, a lot of strength to constantly keep pushing. And now you're pushing for like, I don't know, maybe a minute. Try doing this for weeks or months or maybe even years. Right? So I want to present you with an alternative, and for this alternative I want you to take your object and just lay it down in your lap. Yeah, I would if I could, but I can't, so I wouldn't. I want you to notice that this anxiety, this uncomfortable stuff, this object, is still there. Still pretty close to you. Maybe even closer than when you try to push it away. I also want you to notice something else. It doesn't really cost much energy that way. It's not really distracting, it doesn't do much, it just is there. You have your hands free. You can do stuff. You can drive a car, or you can hug a friend. And you can pay attention to me, to the things that are actually really important for you. Yeah? So this is the alternative here. Instead of fighting it, instead of trying to push it away, we can allow ourselves to feel our anxiety. We can allow ourselves to be nervous. We can allow ourselves to be insecure. A thought is really just some words and maybe some pictures in your head, nothing more. Likewise, an emotion. What is an emotion really? And when you notice in your body what is really going on, like maybe faster heart beating, maybe some sweaty hands, maybe some shaky legs, whatever. Is this worth directing your whole life around it? Just some sweaty hands? Is a life of regret really worth it just because of some shaky knees? When we allow ourselves to feel our anxiety, to feel our insecurity, maybe your fear gets stronger, maybe it doesn't really matter. Because either way we can make room for it. Either way we can allow ourselves to have this experience. But the much cooler thing that actually happens when we make room for our anxiety is that we can focus on things that we actually care about. We stop fighting ourselves. We stop demonizing our own experience. We don't stop beating ourselves up for just feeling the way we feel. Suppose you had a child and this child will tell you that he's feeling bad. You probably wouldn't beat him or her up. It's not a really cool thing to do. When we allow ourselves to feel our anxiety, to feel into it, we can stop the struggle, we can stop the fight. We can start focusing on things that are actually important to us. And by the way, this doesn't mean that you have to like the anxiety. This doesn't mean that you have to like this experience. I know I don't, and you probably don't either. And at the same time, it's also not about tolerating, about pushing through, because in a way, there's also just a hidden attempt of telling yourself that this experience is not acceptable. So, as I said, I still get scared. This hasn't really changed. Sometimes I get scared a lot, sometimes I don't get scared at all. But no matter what I do, at some point I will get scared. So I'm doing the things that are important for me. So after all these years, what has changed? So I stopped being at war with myself. I stop demonizing my own experience. I could accept my experience. And I could accept myself together with my experience, no matter what feelings show up, no matter what thoughts show up. Because anxiety doesn't really matter. Your goals matter. Your dreams matter. Your values matter. The people in your life matter. Anxiety doesn't matter. Your life matters. Thank you.